Welcome back to ET-147, your go-to course on all things unidentified, extraterrestrial, and alien. So, for some brief clarification following the Roswell episode, the sightings in the 1440 BCE skies of ancient Rome actually occurred in ancient Egypt. Also, on the topic of Roswell, the alleged alien bodies that were seen and recovered at the crash. The UFO phenomenon is nothing new. As long as man has been looking up to the skies, we've seen things. As I just mentioned, there was the 1440 BCE sighting in ancient Egypt where alleged fiery discs were seen floating over the skies. But before we get into a brief history of some of the UFO sightings available, again, from Wikipedia, shout out to my main source, let's go over some terminology. What is a UFO? Well, now that is an unidentified flying object. It has been the main all-encompassing term for any sort of, oh hey, is it a bird? Is it a plane? Is it a balloon? It's a UFO. The term came around in roughly the 1950s. The term went from describing flying saucers to other UFO shapes. Some of the common shapes are a triangle shape, the normal flying saucer and disc, a cylinder, tic-tac, or, cigar shape, and also orbs. UFOs tend to have similar characteristics, those being that they have no wings, rotors, or other apparent forms of propulsion. They don't leave a sonic boom or a trail despite the fact that they go faster than our ships. Sudden acceleration and deceleration, crazy turns and maneuvers that we do not yet, or officially, have the technology to replicate. Transmedium travel, aka going from the air down into the water, and they usually often have, apparently, some kind of cloaking device, something that makes them difficult for us to tell what exactly they are. On top of that, they also hover, despite, again, not having rotors like a helicopter. Now, speaking of transmedium travel, that brings us to the topic of USOs, which are unidentified submersible or submerged objects. This phenomenon is related to the UFO phenomenon because a lot of UFOs will just plummet into the water. If you try and do that with a 747, it's not going to go well. But their craft, or whatever that craft is, can do it. Now, the more recent term is UAP, Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. It has become the new standard term to replace the old UFO term, being as UFOs, they tend to get lumped in with, balloons and flights and radar and surveillance, and now we have drones. UAP, just any unidentified aerial phenomena. Could be a goose, could be an extraterrestrial vessel. Anyways, let's go into a little history of some of the UFO sightings. 1440 BCE Egypt, fiery discs were seen floating over the skies according to the Thule papyrus, which that has been discredited as being a hoax. I don't know, I wasn't around. Same thing with 218 BCE Rome. Livy recorded amazing and unusual things and phenomenon that apparently happened, including phantom ships that had been seen gleaming in the sky. In 76 BCE Rome, Plinky the Elder observed a spark fall down from the heavens, grow to the size of the moon as it descended, and then shoot back up, leaving just a trail of light. 74 BCE Roman Republic. Plutarch observed the sky opening up and a huge, flame-like body coming out, shaped, apparently, like a wine jar and colored like silver. That sounds like a UFO to me. April 4th, 1561, in Nuremberg, again, the Holy Roman Empire, A bunch of these tend to happen near civilization or near advancement. Nuremberg residents described what they saw as an aerial battle, similar to the Battle of Los Angeles. It was between a large black triangular object, and then a large crash occurred outside the city. Coincidence? Maybe not. In 1566 in Switzerland, there were 3 celestial phenomena observed, including a bunch of objects that appeared to come out of the sun. Then, in 1668 in Levocha, Hungary, Slokavia, a silver lizard was seen flying in the sky. A what? A silver lizard. Now, could be a dinosaur, could be an alien. 1917, Portugal had thousands observe the sun gyrate and descend. Could have been a UFO. In the 1940s, with World War II and the advancement of nuclear technology and other technology, many worldwide bomber crews reported small metallic spheres and colorful balls of light, which later became known as the Foo Fighters. Can't really describe what they are. However, that's why we have the term UFO and UAP. Again, 1941 in Missouri, apparent first responders and a Baptist minister saw a crash and bodies. February 24th, 1942 was the Battle of Los Angeles, in which a celestial attack triggered thousands of anti-aircraft rounds and then raised the wartime alert status. What's going on in the skies? Sweden saw a flying saucer and apparent alien passengers. In 1947, Washington, again, the state, not the capital, there were a bunch of reports seen from, most notably, Kenneth Arnold, as I mentioned previously. Then there was the Roswell, New Mexico incident, talked about that last week. There were pictures taken, there were crashes reported, there were balls and tic tacs and cylinders and saucers and all of that. They popped up on radar, they disappeared. We had dogfights, including the Gorman dogfight, in which a pilot tried to chase some down. We had a bunch of lights appear that we don't really know what they were, more pilot sightings, both commercial and military, some radar sightings, some more jets being scrambled, so on and so on, including some alleged close encounters, more photos being taken, and attempted abductions. We'll talk about abductions soon. Also, apparently Jimmy Carter claimed to have seen a UFO in Georgia in 1969, which, he was president in 77, so before he even had the clout there. There was the Rendelsham Forest incident of 1980, where a bunch of people in England claimed to have seen various lights and ships going on in the Rendelsham Forest. And then in 2004, the USS Nimitz saw UFOs flying and then skimming into the ocean. Again, UFO, UAP, USO, often very related. These keep going, but that brings us to more modern history. Last year, in June of 2021, the US government released its declassified UFO report. Now, it was kind of a boring report. According to Reuters, it really didn't do much. It essentially said, well, there's something there. We don't entirely know what it is, but yeah, it's out there for sure. Could be our other countries, could be advanced Russian or Chinese or Korean or so on and so on and so on and so on and so on technology. Or could be extraterrestrial in origin. The report does not rule out extraterrestrials, but it also doesn't say, oh hey, we know what this is. It looked at 144 UAP observations, and 143 of them are still fairly unexplained or need more analysis. Too little data to conclude. Now, this could all just be hearsay. A bunch of these reports, alleged UFO observations, some of them, they appear on military radar. Some of them we have pilots who photographed them, and we have witnesses who, by all accounts, appear credible. Other times, if I saw something outside my house, I'm going to get on Twitter tonight and I'm going to tell everybody about it. Does that mean I'm credible? Not necessarily. So you do have to take all of these sightings and claims with a grain of salt. However, this extensive list shows that the UFO phenomenon is nothing new. In my mind, let's assume for a minute, let's put all belief aside, and we're going to assume that UFOs and aliens are real. I feel like they've been monitoring us since the dawn of our evolution, maybe shortly thereafter. Another apparent sighting, apparently Christopher Columbus saw lights when he was sailing across the ocean, but we're not going to give too much credibility to that one. What if the aliens have been observing us? What if they're really fascinated with us? We study our own planet. How many scientists do we have right now trekking across the Amazon, or Antarctica, or the Pacific, or any other area on our planet to observe it? What if the extraterrestrials are a little curious as well? What if all they're trying to do is do a little bit of research? That leads me to believe that they're not fully harmful, as I've said. Yeah, maybe they have a temper. Sometimes they get upset. Maybe sometimes they end up abducting a few humans, cutting them open to test us. Don't we do that with animals? I mean, come on. They've been observing us for a very long time, and we're still here. I believe that the sightings of UFO phenomenon increased drastically following the 1940s and the advancement of the nuclear age. Imagine if you walked out and saw a pile of ants one day. Okay, yeah, that's cool, whatever. I'm gonna go back inside. And then you came out one day and they were playing with fire. Now they would pose a little bit more of a threat. Could be the same with us. Could be aliens observing us and then, oh, okay, look at the little humans. They're starting to figure out nuclear physics. Maybe we should pop in, check them out a little bit more. Are they here to try and show us their ways? Maybe. Again, they haven't revealed themselves to me yet, and I'm down as long as I don't get abducted. I'm not really all for the getting cut up and probed that sometimes happens, but I would just shake hands with them. I think that'd be cool. Yeah, I would hang out with an alien. I'd have an ET bestie. Just reveal yourselves to me. I'm not asking for much. Anyways, maybe they're here to show us the ways of interstellar travel. Maybe they're here to share some ancient ideas that they have, help foster peace among humanity. Maybe they're here just because they're curious. Maybe some of the crashes, either they're not completely used to our atmosphere, haven't calculated their equipment to that level of the Earth, or, what if they're just alien teenagers going for a little joyride? I think that would be fun. The phenomenon is nothing new. UFOs have been seen since we've been looking at the sky. Now, arguably, most of them aren't incredibly credible. Most of them do need a little give and take, a little skepticism. There are some photos from the government branches, U.S. pilots, Air Force pilots, so on and so on, that we are investigating, we have investigated, and that do appear credible. What are they? We don't know. Or does the government know and they're just not telling us? I'm not entirely sure. They could genuinely be unexplained and unidentified. We might have no idea what is going on. Or the government could have stuff that they don't want us to know. I have before mentioned the Men in Black. One of these sightings, I'm not going to scroll back through my list, but yeah, apparently one of them had a witness who was later harassed by the Men in Black. You see something, they show up, they say that it's not there. Anyways, this has been a brief run through on that history. Next time, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty. We're talking abductions. Grab your tinfoil hats. Don't let them get you.